Sacramento and the suburbs around it, Roseville, Folsom, Dorado Hills, Elk Grove, Granite Bay, Lincoln, people either love them or they had no idea what they were actually getting into. And the problem with most of the content out there is that it's either this place is amazing, you should move here, or here are 10 things I hate about Sacramento. Neither one is actually useful if you're trying to make a real decision. I'm Kat Farless. I've been working in this market for years alongside my husband, Rich. And between the two of us, we've had this exact conversation with hundreds of buyers, people cashing out of the Bay Area, families from Southern California, 55 plus homeowners figuring out their next move, and locals trying to decide whether to stay or go. What I'm giving you today is the full picture, the real pros, some of which are more compelling than you might expect, and the real cons, the stuff that every honest person who actually lives and works here should tell you up front. Here we go. A lot of people come to Sacramento expecting either a budget version of the Bay Area or a sleepy government town. It's neither of those things. Sacramento and its suburbs represent one of the most livable value propositions in California right now. Not just on home prices, quality of life, outdoor access, food culture, community infrastructure, job growth, but there are also real trade-offs, and some of them are significant enough that they're deal breakers for certain people. Rich and I have been in this market for years. We live here, we work here, and we've helped buyers at every stage. What I'm sharing isn't research I did for this video. It's what comes up in every real conversation about this area. Here's the structure. Pros first. And I'm going to go deeper than you probably heard before, because some of these are genuinely underappreciated. Then the cons. No soft pedaling. And at the end, a breakdown of the suburbs, because Roseville is not the same as Granite Bay and Elk Grove is not the same as Folsom. Where you land matters enormously. If you want a free copy of NorCal Real, it's our Sacramento area buyer relocation guide. Drop guide in the comments and we'll send it right over. Let's start with the number that gets people's attention, what your money actually buys out there. At the top of the market, Granite Bay sits at the highest price points in the Placer County suburbs. Larger lots, custom and semi-custom homes, a private foothill feel, and El Dorado competes with it at that premium tier. And if you want that caliber inside Sacramento proper, the Fab 40s is the most prestigious neighborhood in the city. Beautiful historic homes, tree-lined streets, a close-in location that's hard to beat. Then you have Folsom, Roseville, Rocklin, and this is where most people land. And for a good reason. You get everything. Strong community infrastructure, beautiful neighborhoods, great access to amenities, and a price point that still makes sense. Lincoln fits right in here too, especially if you want newer construction and a little more space for the money. The dollar per square foot difference is significant. What buys you a 2 or 3 bedroom condo in Palo Alto can buy a 4 or 5 bedroom home with a yard. And you're often getting a newer home. The Sacramento region has a large inventory of homes built in the last 20 years. Better energy efficiency, more modern floor plans, lower maintenance costs right out of the gate. Gas is also noticeably cheaper here than in the Bay Area. When you're running errands across Roseville or Folsom every week, that adds up over a year. And the local commute is genuinely faster. If you were driving south from the peninsula to San Jose or north into San Francisco, those drives can take the life out of you. The suburbs to Sacramento equation is a completely different world. Cost of living is the first thing people look at, but the next one is what makes people fall in love with the lifestyle out here. And it's more expansive than most people expect before they visit. This is the one that consistently surprises people until they actually live here. You're 90 minutes from Lake Tahoe, one of the most beautiful lakes in the world. World-class skiing in winter, paddleboarding, and hiking in the summer. It's not a vacation you fly to, it's a Saturday. But you don't even have to leave the suburbs to get on the water. Folsom Lake is one of the most used recreation lakes in Northern California. After work on a weekday, people grab a paddleboard and are on the water in 20 minutes. Granite Bay actually sits on the lake. Boating, kayaking, swimming, part of a normal week, not a special occasion. The American River Parkway runs 32 miles from downtown Sacramento all the way to Folsom. Cycling, running, kayaking, just being outside. Genuinely one of the most underrated urban amenities in California. And golf. The Sacramento region has an exceptional range of courses, from great public tracks to private clubs that rival anything in the state. The combination of mild winters, dry summers, and foothill terrain make for some beautiful layouts. For people who play regularly, this is a real quality of life factor that doesn't get talked about nearly enough. Auburn State Recreation Area in the Foothills. Mountain biking, river access, whitewater rafting on the American River, wine country in multiple directions. Placer County alone has its own wine and ale trail connecting local wineries and breweries across the region. Compared to most major metros, the consistent, low-friction outdoor access here is genuinely hard to match. Outdoor access is exceptional. Now the next one is about what's happening when you're not on the water or the course. Sacramento has been named the farm-to-fork capital of the country, and it genuinely shows up in the food culture here. The Central Valley grows a huge percentage of the country's produce, and Sacramento sits right on top of that supply chain. The restaurant scene in Midtown and East Sacramento has grown significantly. James Beard recognized chefs, independent wine bars, a food culture that punches above what you'd expect. And the suburbs have kept up. Folsom, Roseville, and Dorado Hills all have strong dining options close to home. What makes this area special for families is that a lot of the best places here blur the line between adult fun and kid fun. Goat House Brewing in Lincoln is a perfect example. It's a farm-to-tap brewery set in a converted barn out of Wise Road. Great craft beer, and the kids are literally out there meeting the goats, the donkey, and Highland cow. Mom and dad get their afternoon. The kids are genuinely entertained. That's the vibe out here, built for all ages, not just one crowd. For families with younger kids, Roseville alone has Sunsplash, one of the best water parks in the region, and the splash pad at the fountains, where kids play in the water features while everyone else actually enjoys the afternoon. Water parks, outdoor festivals, farmers markets with kids areas. And the wave of new indoor entertainment across the suburbs, pickleball courts are opening everywhere. Top golf entertainment complexes. The old stereotype of there being nothing to do in the suburbs just doesn't hold anymore. Food, family, lifestyle, the infrastructure for a good life is genuinely here. Now, let's talk about the job market because it's more interesting than most people expect. The employment base here is more diverse than most people realize, and it's growing in some specific and significant ways. State government has always been the foundation. The capital is here, and state employment is about as stable as it gets. UC Davis is a major employer and a world-class research university anchoring a growing life sciences ecosystem, including Aggie Square, the billion-dollar research and innovation district being built in Sacramento. Healthcare is a major and growing sector. UC Davis Medical Center, Sutter Health, Kaiser Permanente, and Dignity Health all have significant footprints here. For healthcare professionals, California is the only state in the country with legally mandated nurse-to-patient ratios, so those working conditions apply statewide. What's different in Sacramento is the cost of living equation. Doing the same work, earning California wages, but with housing costs that actually let you build wealth. The Railyards development is also bringing a Kaiser Permanente medical campus expected to support thousands of jobs in Sacramento County. On tech and semiconductors, honest picture. Intel has had a major presence in Folsom for decades, but they've gone through significant restructuring and reduced headcount there. That's real. The semiconductor story, though, is not going away. Bosch acquired the former HP campus in Roseville and is in the middle of a roughly $1.9 billion investment to turn it into one of the largest silicon carbide semiconductor production sites in the country. First production is expected in 2026, with up to 700 manufacturing and engineering jobs coming to Roseville on top of 1,000 construction jobs during build-out. Greater Sacramento is actually outpacing in the Bay Area in semiconductor job growth right now. And beyond the headline sectors, a significant share of the people putting down roots here are high-income professionals who ran the numbers and made a deliberate choice. Pilots, engineers, accountants, aerospace professionals, healthcare specialists, people who looked at what their income could buy here versus the coastal markets and decided this made more sense for their family. The employment picture has real depth. Now, there are two groups of buyers where Sacramento and its suburbs consistently come through in a way that's hard to replicate anywhere else in California right now. The first is a 55-plus homeowner who's ready to make a move. If you've owned a home in the Bay Area or coastal Southern California for 15 or 20 years, you've likely built significant equity. And the question a lot of people in that situation start asking is, what do I actually do with this? One of the great things about this region is how many options there are for that next chapter. Active adult communities here aren't tucked into one corner of the map. They're spread across Sacramento, Roseville, Rocklin, Folsom, Dorado Hills, and Lincoln. Sun City Lincoln Hills is one of the most recognized active adult communities in the country. Esplanade in Roseville, Heritage, Springfield, these are resort-style communities with golf, pools, clubhouses, fitness centers, and a social infrastructure that's genuinely built for this stage of life. The equity from a Bay Area home can purchase one of these properties outright with minimal mortgage. Suddenly, you're in a newer home in a community designed for how you actually want to live, with lower overhead and more resources freed up for what matters. The second group is at the other end of the spectrum. First-time buyers and young families just getting started. Sacramento and its suburbs still have accessible entry points, especially in Lincoln, parts of Elk Grove, and newer Roseville and Rocklin communities. If you want to get into homeownership before moving up, this market can be that first step. And what you're buying is not a compromise. It's a quality, newer construction home in a well-built community, a foundation, not a consolation prize. 2 life stages, 1 region that genuinely serves both. Now, let's flip the coin. Here's the honest summary of what this region offers. What you're trading is density, pace, and urban intensity for the space, access, and livability. If you are spending $3,500 a month on a 2-bedroom apartment in a coastal city, that same payment out here can put you in a 4-bedroom home with a yard. And that yard might back up to a greenbelt or have a view of the foothills. That trade is not available in most of California. It's available here. The suburbs amplify it. Roseville, Folsom, Dorado Hills, these communities were built to be livable. The people who give this place a genuine shot tend to stay. That's the data point that matters. I just gave you the genuine upsides of the employment base here. Here's the honest other side. If you're not a remote worker and you need a local job in high compensation tech, entertainment, or finance, Sacramento is not a 1-for-1 replacement for the Bay Area or LA. The sector is real, but smaller. Total compensation packages, base salary, equity, benefits are typically lower than equivalent roles at major coastal companies. State government, healthcare, education, and growing sectors like semiconductors and life sciences are strong. Entrepreneurship and small businesses are expanding. But if your career is tied to a specific high comp ecosystem, go in with clear eyes. The math may still work depending on your housing equation, but you need to know what you're trading. Now, your sector before you commit. Here's one that shows up in every real estate conversation and catches a lot of buyers off guard. This comes up with every buyer looking at the foothill communities, and it's worth taking seriously. Auburn, Dorado Hills, parts of Cameron Park, and Granite Bay, Loomis, these communities fall into elevated fire risk zones. That's a geographic and climate reality. The interface between developed communities and dry wild vegetation creates a risk profile that insurance carriers have been aggressively repricing. Some major carriers have pulled back from parts of the California market entirely. What this means practically, when you're evaluating a foothill property, homeowners insurance is part of the cost analysis from the start, not an afterthought. You want to know which carriers are available for that specific address, what the annual costs look like, and what the coverage terms are. That conversation belongs in due diligence, not after closing. The valley floor communities, Roseville, Rocklin, Elk Grove, Sacramento proper, have lower fire risk profiles and broader carrier options. People live in the foothills happily and safely. Defensible space, community preparedness, knowing your evacuation routes, that's part of the lifestyle. Going in informed makes all the difference. Insurance is manageable when you plan for it. The next one, you literally cannot plan around. You just have to decide if you can live with it. The heat. We have to talk about it. Sacramento summers are legitimately hot. Consistent stretches of 95 to 105 degrees through June, July, and August. And September will remind you it's not done yet. If you're coming from coastal California, the Bay, San Diego, LA, near the water, this is a real adjustment. Here's the thing though, people acclimate, just like anything else. Within a season or two, your body adjusts and you figure out your rhythm. Morning walks, evening patios, afternoons inside during the peak weeks. It becomes your normal. But it's important to know going in so it doesn't catch you off guard. Pools are not a luxury here. They're a legitimate quality of life decision. When you're evaluating homes, the presence of a pool or the ability to add one is genuinely worth thinking about. And for the record, the winters here are mild, and spring and fall are some of the best weather you'll find anywhere in California. The heat is an adjustment, and most people get there. The next one shows up on your bill every month, and it's something worth knowing before you move in. Here's something that doesn't make the relocation brochure, but absolutely belongs in the budget conversation. If your home is in Sacramento City or SMUD territory, you're in decent shape. SMUD is community-owned. Rates are among the most reasonable in California. But if you're in PG&E territory, which covers significant parts of Placer County, El Dorado County, and many foothill communities, you need to budget for a very different picture. Summer electric bills of $400 to $600 or higher are not unusual for a larger home running central air through a Sacramento summer. It can genuinely surprise you if you're only comparing mortgage payments without thinking about the full cost of living in the home. Simple move. Before you get serious about any property, find out which utility provider serves that address. Know it up front. Utilities, know your service area. Now, I want to give you the single most important thing in the whole video. Here's the mistake I see cost people the most. Someone decides they're interested in the Sacramento area, and they pick a community based on a YouTube thumbnail or a Zillow price filter. They don't actually understand what each community is like to live in day to day. And then they move in and it doesn't match their life. Sacramento is not one place. These communities are genuinely different from each other. Roseville and Rocklin are the most built out suburban communities in the region. Master planned, retail dense, family oriented, extensive park systems, and significant new construction activity. If you want infrastructure, amenities, and a connected community feel, this is your zone. Folsom wins over lifestyle buyers. Historic downtown, Sutter Street, the lake, a 50-mile trail system, and a character that feels distinct. It's a bit more expensive per square foot, but it earns it. Dorado Hills and Granite Bay are the premium tier. Larger lots, more custom homes, a quieter and more private feel. Dorado Hills has the town center and a cohesive community identity. Granite Bay is more foothill community than traditional suburb. Low density, lake access, larger properties. Lincoln is the value play and one of the growth stories in the region. Home to Sun City Lincoln Hills and a significant active adult community footprint. It's about 35 to 40 minutes from Sacramento. You need to be honest with yourself about whether that works for your daily life. Elk Grove is South Sacramento, one of the fastest growing cities in California. Well-planned, diverse, and significantly more affordable than Placer County suburbs. A different vibe, but a legitimate option when value is the priority. Auburn is for people who want foothill living with a small town feel. History, character, genuinely beautiful, and it's 45 minutes from Sacramento. That either works for your life or it doesn't. There are dedicated videos on most of these communities in the description. And if you want to talk through which one actually fits your specific situation, that link is there too. Let's bring it home. The pros here are real. The cost of living advantage is significant. Newer homes, cheaper gas, faster local commute, and $1 per square foot difference that still makes the Bay Area comparison compelling. Outdoor access is exceptional. Paddleboarding after work at Folsom Lake, a weekend in Tahoe, world-class golf, wine trails through Placer County, all of it without planning a trip. The food culture and family entertainment out here genuinely surprises people. The job market is growing in meaningful ways. Bosch's semiconductor investment in Roseville, the Railyards healthcare campus, a professional community of pilots, engineers, accountants, and healthcare workers who have already made this their home. And for 55 plus buyers ready to cash out and right size, and for first-time buyers looking for a real foundation. This market delivers in ways that are hard to find anywhere else in California right now. The cons are also real. Summer heat is not casual, and it's worth knowing that going in. Even though most people acclimate over time, utility costs in PG&E territory need to be in your budget from day one. The foothill communities require intentional planning around fire risk and insurance. And the local job market, while growing, is not a one-for-one swap for high comp coastal employment. And the most important thing, Sacramento is not one market. Pick the wrong suburb and you've made your life harder, not easier. Don't let a price filter make that call for you. If you want to walk through your specific situation, where to land, what to budget, what the market actually looks like right now, the link to schedule a free consultation is in the description. That conversation costs you nothing and might save you from a very expensive mistake. Drop guide in the comments for the NorCal Reel, our free Sacramento area buyer relocation guide. We read every comment. If this helped you, hit subscribe. We put out Sacramento content every week. See you in the next one.